All right, everyone. We would like to welcome world number one, Scottie Scheffler, to the Media Center here at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Scottie, making your season debut. We'll just start off. Last time we've seen you was at Hero. What have you been up to?
Resting. That's great. Yeah, season debut. It's a little weird making it this late in the year, but yeah, good to be back. Everything's feeling good. Yeah, it's nice to be here at Pebble. I mean, definitely excited to play. Feeling well rested. So overall, feeling good.
What are the steps that go into rest? With your hand.
Oh, there was a lot of sitting around at first, but after that, I was able to get moving fairly quickly. But I definitely had it was good and bad. It was frustrating to be sitting at home, not being able to play golf, but we got some good time at home. Just us three. It's pretty rare for me to be at home throughout the day without really having much to do. I couldn't really work out at first. There wasn't really a whole lot I could do, so it was nice, uninterrupted time for us at home, but it was definitely still frustrating, watching golf on TV and not being able to play.
Just making your second start here, top 10 last year, and just got off the course. What are you seeing from the course this year?
The course is good. There's a little bit less rough than there was last year. The greens are quite a bit firmer, and so if the rain holds off this week, I think it'll continue to get firmer as the week goes on. It should be a lot of fun. These greens are small, and when they're firm, they can be really challenging. So hopefully the rain holds off and the golf course will get firm and fast, and should be a really, really fun test.
Enough from me. Same as always, open up to media, raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone over to you, but we'll start off on the right side here with Dan.
So since the Hero, we've seen TGL has come on the scene. I know obviously you're not participating in year one, but have you taken in the matches, and what has been kind of your take on the emergence of a new entity in the sport?
I haven't watched much of it. I did catch. I was working out in the trailer last night, and it was on, and I'd heard the first two matches weren't very close, but last night was pretty exciting. It was good for them to have a close match. I watched like 5 minutes of the first one night. I turned on like ESPN Plus. I was rocking Bennett to sleep like late at night, and I just turned it on and caught a bit. And I think it's interesting. I think it's good energy for the sport. I think maybe some new people are getting interested in golf, but overall, I haven't really paid too much attention to it. But last night was good.
And then Rory was in here saying that he thinks maybe you should get a chef, given the injury. Is there any thought toward that?
I got a chef. Her name's Meredith. She's pretty cute.
We have Doug in the front.
Where exactly on the hand was the injury, and what was kind of the turning point, tipping point that said, yeah, I can play this week?
It was kind of in like the middle of the upper part of my palm, I would say, and then the tipping point, yeah, right there, like right in front of the middle finger.
You want to show Doug?
Yes. Sorry, I got sidetracked. What was your question? Oh, tipping point. Well, last week at the beginning of the week, I kind of made more of a conscious effort to hit a lot of balls when I was first getting back into it, just because everything had healed properly, and I was in a good spot and got some freedom from the doctor, and basically I wanted to push myself pretty hard at home to make sure that I wouldn't have a flare up here on the road, if that makes sense. And so kind of try to work out some of that soreness and the scar tissue and stuff that goes in there after surgery. So I tried to push myself pretty hard in the cold last week, and it continued to get better and better each day, and so I figured I might as well come back out and start playing.
See the scar?
No. I'm just kidding. I got a little piece of tape on it, so you can't see it anyways. Sorry. Yeah. Right there. It's right there. It's
nude.
What do you call it? Yeah. It's nude. She said it.
Alex.
Scottie, just to hopefully put this to bed finally, we were trying to understand how exactly you could have done what you did to force it to have to go to the hospital and have surgery. You said you were making raviolis, I think, when you were down the Arnold Palmer Invitational press conference, but what exactly, how did you?
Well, so like when you make raviolis, we wanted to make them from scratch, and so you like roll the dough and you got to cut the dough. But we were at a rental house, so we didn't have like the right tools, and the only thing there was a wine glass that we found, and I had my hand on top of it and it broke. Which, side note, I've heard nothing but horror stories since this happened about wine glasses. So be careful. Even if you're like me and you don't drink wine, you got to be real careful with wine glasses. But yeah, so broke and the stem kind of got me in the hand. So it's one of those deals where, like it's truly, I can't live in a bubble. Like, got to live my life, and accidents happen, and it could have been a lot worse. I actually talked to somebody who did the exact same thing, and the stem went straight through their hand. And so it's one of those deals where immediately after it happened, I was mad at myself because I was like, gosh, that was so stupid, but you just don't think about it when you're in the moment. And yeah, I've definitely been like a little bit more careful doing stuff at home. But
And then after that happened, did you immediately go to the emergency room? Or
No. I have a friend at home who's a surgeon, and he helped us stop the bleeding. And then it really wasn't like terrible, but I knew I kind of messed something up just because the way my hand wasn't really moving much, and if I did, it hurt pretty bad. And so I kind of knew something was up. And we were planning on leaving the next day anyway. So since it didn't continue bleeding, we stopped the bleeding pretty quickly. I mean, it was maybe 15 minutes or so, and got hold of a guy who helped me with my thumb about 10 years ago. I had a hand guy at home who works with my friend who's a hip surgeon, and he kind of helped facilitate what to do. And then he was actually out of town, so I had another guy at home do the surgery that we referred to, and he did a great job. I was able to heal pretty quickly, and yeah, I'm just very thankful that the community around me at home kind of sprung into action pretty quick and got the ball rolling. I'm sure my friends didn't want to help me stop the bleeding in my hand on Christmas Day, but they jumped into action pretty quick, and yeah, they were able to help me really fast. I'm really, really thankful for the support system at home.
And I assume, well, I don't want to assume, are you concerned at all about the fact that this could be a problem down the road?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess you ruined the raviolis too.
No, they were good. They weren't that good, but they were pretty good.
Going just right behind Ron.
Scottie, how do you sort of reflect on last season now that you've had some time for it? Kind of what allowed you to take that step to I mean, as good as you were previously, to have the productive year you had, and what's it going to take to duplicate it? I mean, it's not too much.
Yeah,
like that.
I think in terms of like reflection, since I did have some more off time at home, I did go back and watch a bit of the tournaments that it played in, and I wasn't necessarily watching the finishes, but I was just kind of watching, throughout the course of the event, and just thinking about what I was feeling at the time and how my brain was working, and just kind of going over things to remind myself of the tournaments and stuff, because I really do have my memory is not that great, and so a lot of the shots and a lot of the way the tournaments went, I remembered the last bit of it, but I didn't remember what led to the point of being in the lead or close to the lead. So it was good to go back and watch some speed rounds and stuff like that, just to see how I managed my way around the course and stayed patient. And there's a few tournaments I look back at that I was the thing that stuck out the most was that I never really overreacted to stuff. I kind of stayed in it and kind of waited for my moment to get hot. And, sometimes I got hot and was able to get up the leaderboard and win. And then other times, I didn't. And I still had a decent finish. So most of it was just reminding myself of how to kind of, play tournament golf just because I've been off for a bit.
If I guess a quick follow-up, Fergie asked Rory about your season and sort of what impressed him, and his comment was that you never made a mistake, that you just avoided. He saw so many bogey-less rounds. And I'm just sort of curious, how has that always been the way you sort of played, and how much that's maybe a philosophy of your game? I mean, you think about Tiger in his heyday, he got ahead and then didn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then Adam, then we'll go over to Gabby.
Scottie, obviously you missed 2 starts that you were scheduled to play. Not sure how you think about it, but will you consider adding more tournaments, or will it kind of be a feel as it goes?
There's definitely a feel as it goes kind of aspect. I've considered adding maybe one event, but outside of that, I think I like the way my schedule flows throughout the year. And I always loved starting the year in Kapalua, and then I loved going to Palm Springs. You get Kapalua where you kind of get the how's Christmas, New Year, all that stuff kind of out of the way, get the season started at a beautiful place in Hawaii. And then I feel like I get a really good gauge of where my game's at in Palm Springs, because you're playing golf in a dome, and it's good to get in there in competition. You got to make a lot of birdies, and a format like that is one that I think that's more difficult for me. And so it kind of just gives me a good gauge of where my game's at. So missing those 2 events is not fun. There are a lot of I enjoy playing them, but as far as adding them, I don't want to just because I missed 2, I don't want to change the flow and cadence of my schedule. But if I feel like I want to add one to get some extra reps in, then I will.
Talk about before the Masters or throughout the course of the season?
I'd say before we kind of get into the heart of the season with like the Players and the Masters, and then you get kind of into the heart of the rest of the major season.
Adam?
Scott, I heard a rumor you might have played Cyprus yesterday.
I did.
How'd that go?
It was great. I took down Ted, so I got bragging rights for a while. Can't afford to lose to your caddy because he's just going to be reminding me that he beat me constantly. So I was glad to take him down. It was a great day. You know, Mary and Bennett came out and walked a few holes with us. They were very kind to let them kind of come out, and we had lunch, and it was just a great day, really. I mean, weather was beautiful. Our group was great. We had a great time. You know, I'm just thankful for the experience. I mean, Meredith and I were going to sleep last night. We're like, wow, that was just one of our favorite days. It was awesome.
Had you played it before?
I played it last year on Monday, tournament week.
What'd you shoot?
Last year, Sam smoked me. This year, I played a bit better.
Anything new in the bag?
No. Yeah.
Moving over to the right to Gabby.
Hey, Scotty, you talked about watching yourself play. Have you done that before? Is that something you normally do?
Yeah, I usually like to check and just see how things look. You know, I kind of have a good understanding of where my swing is and where I want it and how it looks when I'm swinging really well. And sometimes it's good to go back and look at certain things on the TV because you get good angles on TV. You get to see different stuff. And so that's something that's pretty common that I do.
Do you just look yourself up on YouTube?
No, we have like a little, the tour gives us access to like a way to watch our rounds really fast. So I only watch my shots and I don't listen to commentators and I just watch and find the swings that have good angles and then I watch those.
Got it. Makes sense.
When's the last time you listened to a commentator?
I try, no offense to the great commentators out there. I try not to listen very much.
Are you a results-oriented player?
I try not to be, but I think inevitably you just look at the results. Just because you know that's at the end of the week, I'm going to have a finish this week unless
You're trying to win
withdraw.
this week, right?
That's the plan.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting at is you had a really good year a couple years ago and won twice or three times with the Hero. Sorry.
Yeah, 3 times with the Hero.
Had chances to win a lot more and didn't work out that way. Yesterday or last year you had your 9 wins, 10 with the Bryson and Brooks match. How do you
11 with the President's Cup. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you measure yourself this year? Is it hard not to look at the end result when it could flip so easily as you've seen the last 2 years? I mean, 2 years ago could have been a pretty big year, and it was just a good year.
Yeah,
or a great year, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think it's something that's good to be thought about because, like, sometimes when you're winning a lot, little things just seem to happen. The little things that didn't go my way the year before, I think kind of bounced my way last year. I think of certain tournaments where I was really close and like I look at the Players last year where, Wyndham hits that putt on 18 at Horseshoes and, I was able to come back from behind and win the tournament. But if one of those leaders goes out and has a great round, there's only so many under par you can shoot. I was maybe 5 back or something going in the last round. I shot, I think, about 8 under. Like, I would have had to shoot, let's say they went out and had a really good round, I'd have to go shoot 59. And, like, you can only shoot so many under par. And so sometimes those little breaks fall your way where the guys at the top struggle and I'm able to kind of get into the tournament. And you look at the Players as an example, maybe the Olympics is one as well where you're able to come from behind. And sometimes little things go your way and sometimes they don't. And, I think 23 was a year in which I gave myself a lot of opportunities and I wasn't able to capitalize on them as much. And then I look at 24 and I capitalized on most of my opportunities that I had to win tournaments, and that's where you see the results from.
How do you manage expectations?
I try to focus as much as I can on the internal stuff, and so that's why I went back and I watched a lot of the tournaments, and I wasn't watching late on Sunday. I was watching more at the beginning of the week and seeing how I got into the flow of the tournament. And, I looked at, a tournament like Travelers last year was a good example of a tournament where I didn't necessarily play great the whole tournament. And late in the round on Saturday, I was almost out of the tournament. I birdied the last 4 holes on Saturday to get myself into the golf tournament, then had a good day Sunday and had to win in a playoff. And I think if it was my rookie year and I had a day on Saturday in which I struggled, I may have gotten more upset than I did, but I did a really great job of staying patient, and I didn't force things. I waited for the golf tournament to kind of come to me, and I capitalized when I got hot there, made those 4 birdies, got myself into the final group, and was able to play great on Sunday and win. And then you look at a tournament like the Players, there's a similar thing. Late on Saturday, I birdied the last 3 holes when I was almost out of the tournament. I birdied 16, 17, 18 to give myself a fighting chance going into Sunday. And so it's more what I looked at is just more it's about my attitude and not giving up and staying patient and doing my best to grind it out, because golf tournaments are played over 72 holes. And I think a lot of times we get trapped in just what happens on Sunday. And golf tournaments are long. They're a grind. I would say so, especially like throughout the course of a round. I expect, I put in a lot of work to come out here and play well, and I think at times when early in my career I would get upset when things didn't go my way, and when I'd hit poor shots because I would prepare to not hit poor shots. And I think it's more of having the understanding of that stuff is going to happen. You're going to make mistakes throughout the round, but it's more about my attitude and how I approach things, and that's what I would consider successful weeks, is weeks in which I show up prepared, I have a good attitude, and I play a good tournament over 72 holes with a good attitude. It's not necessarily about birdies and bogeys. It's more about my approach than anything.
Going very far left.
This guy. Doug kind of stole my question, but I guess I'm wondering how the evolution of that, like being able to reach in more of a Zen state from when you were young and you were more emotional and more volatile on the course to where you are now and where you're kind of more even-tempered on the course. Was that a conscious thing that you sort of worked on, and how did you do that?
Yeah, I would say it's been a conscious effort since I was a kid. When I was a young kid at Royal Oaks, like I would say some people may not even want to play golf with me sometimes, because I'd get out there and I would get so upset when I hit a bad shot because I didn't understand like why you would hit a bad shot, and I expected perfection out of myself. And I think having the understanding of mistakes are going to happen, and it's more about responding to those mistakes. And I think it's been a conscious effort over the last like 20 years to get to the point where I am now. And that's why I still talk about it a lot, because in golf, it's a frustrating game to go out there and play week in, week out. So I mean, it's a constant battle each week to have a good attitude and to stay relaxed and just try to execute the shot and not worry about the results.
Finish up with our final couple set. We have Ryan, Ron, then Alex.
This may be very tangentially related, but since you were gone, Justin Thomas sent a memo to the membership talking about how he wants players to be more accessible to broadcast partners and to sort of be more fan-forward. I'm just curious, as the dominant world number one, what do you sort of view as your role in what seems like a pretty concerted effort by the tour to get you maybe out of a competitive mode and more into being a well-rounded player/entertainer?
The reason why I always watch sports is to see the competition. And like when I think about the football games this weekend, I was so excited to watch great competition, great teams going against each other. And so when I think about something that would be good for the game of golf, I think the more we can get back into the competition of things, I think that's what's best. And when you have great players going at it, I think that's what's interesting about sports. Like people tune into Tiger because he's a great player. And Tiger, his golf clubs always did his talking for him. He wasn't going out and trying to do anything extra or try and put on a show. He was going out there to compete and play golf. And it was electric at times because he would kind of go nuts when things would go well. But he also was really, really good at going crazy and getting right back into a different state of mind like that. And that's something that I try not to get too amped or too calmed down because, I try to stay as even keel. Tiger was like a crazy person when it went, like you'd see him go nuts. And then by the time he'd get his ball out of the hole and it was like, psh, like that. And so I try to not turn down many media requests. I always come in, do press conference each week. I very rarely will ever turn down interviews after the round. I think being open and honest when you're answering questions is always a good thing. I try to be as honest as possible, but there are certain aspects of my life that I like to keep private. I never strive to be an entertainer. I always loved playing golf. And, this is what I love to do is come out here and compete. And if people want to watch and enjoy, then, come on out and have a good time. But I'm not going to put on a show or do anything crazy to try to get more people to watch me. just trying to come out here and do my thing. But I think Justin did bring up some good points about being open to doing a bit more stuff. But at the end of the day, I think what people like is competition. And I think the more we can stop talking about all the other BS that's going on in the game of golf, the more we can get back into, I mean, we're playing Pebble Beach this week, and, you know, I'm sure a lot of the media, a lot of the talking points in here about pace of play and TGL and all this other stuff, and we're playing Pebble Beach this week. It's one of the most beautiful, iconic golf courses in the world, and we got some of the best players in the world here competing. Like, let's soak that in. Huh?
Ron, and then we'll finish up.
Shot clock, obviously.
Scottie, I know you haven't played in this event a ton, but is there any example or moment of a hole, a shot, maybe last year, that you thought at the time that can only happen at Pebble Beach? You know, the wind on 7 or something on 6, or I don't know, whatever hole is, you know, you find really unique to Pebble and the conditions that illustrates what makes this course different.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with when you look at just the golf course. Like if you took the ocean out of it, I think the ocean obviously has a lot to do with why the golf course is so iconic. And I think when you just take that out of the picture, because that's a given, I think the golf course with small greens with a lot of pitch, I think it lends you to playing a different style of golf that you don't see at a typical golf course nowadays. I think when you get onto these older golf courses, as they develop over time, like they almost have more of a charm to them, where things aren't perfect. Like you look at a hole like number 3 where there's a cypress tree there that I'm sure when they originally designed the golf course wasn't supposed to grow to be a part of the hitting area, because the hole was originally designed for you to hit it out there on the right side and hit, you know, a longer shot into the green. But with the way technology is now, we can hit the ball a lot further. Guys are more athletic. We do more stuff in the gym. The hole has changed. But the charm of that hole is there's a tree off the tee that you have to curve your ball around. And now with the technology, it's hard to draw a driver. And so it's hard to hit that hook shot around it. And if you were to take an aerial photograph of that hole when it was originally designed, you know, somebody may say, hey, let's take out that tree. And, oh, the green was a little bit bigger. But as the game develops over time, I think these golf courses like Pebble Beach that stand the test of time have that little bit of charm to them where it's different, and you have to hit different types of shots. Like you're not going to see at this golf course the same shots you'd see at a brand new golf course, because they're thinking about distance and they're thinking about all these different things. And you know, new golf courses are 8,000 yards, and the fairways are bigger and the greens are bigger because it's easier to grow grass that way. There's less trees. But you come to a place like Pebble Beach, and it has some of the charm of a golf course that develops and stands the test of time. And I think just little examples of stuff like that makes a golf course fun and interesting. It's not necessarily about having a huge place. Like when you play Pebble Beach, you have to play shots. You can't just hit it as hard as you can every time.
That's a really good answer. Can you give an example? Was it on 3? Did you?
Yeah, three's a great example.
What did you hit? Or you remember what happened?
I tried to draw a driver, I failed, and I hit it through the fairway into the bunker. And then you can just go through the golf course. Like number 1, the green slopes back to front. The fairway is narrow up there. There's out of bounds left and right, so you can't just bomb driver up there and hope for the best. Like there's trouble, and so you got to lay it up. Hit like today, I took a 3, but I hit a low cut, so the ball wouldn't chase through into that bunker. But I still wanted to chase it up to have a shorter shot into the green. Then you get to number 4. It's somewhat drivable, but there's bunkers up the left side. There's an ocean on the right side, and now there's a bunker that's almost in the way of the layup. So you get on the tee box and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many different options of what to do. I can hit it over that first bunker and have a shorter wedge shot in. I can lay it short of the first bunker and have a 130-yard shot in. I can try and drive the green if I can carry this bunker. Like there's so many different things that you have to think about on the golf course. And I think these older courses that have that sort of like kind of quirkiness to them, I think was what makes it interesting, and that's what helps it stand the test of time. And like if you went back and you made the front entrance to the green bigger and made the green bigger, it would totally change the hole to where the only option is now hitting it up there, because the pitch from the left side is easier. But if you hit it in the left rough and the pin's anywhere on that left side of the green, it's a really hard chip. And I mean, it's just interesting. There's stuff to think about. Whereas you get on a 500-yard par 5, it's like, driver, send it. Doesn't matter really what's up there. I'm just sending driver because I have to. I can't hit 3-wood. But I think golf courses like these give you opportunity to play different types of shots.
And we'll wrap up with Alex.
He kind of forced the question. Do you have desires at some point to be an architect?
I think that golf course architecture is really interesting. I think where I'm at right now, I have a good understanding of looking at a hole and can tell you what's good and what's bad about it. I think if I designed my own golf course right now, it'd be quite boring, to be honest with you. I'm not super creative in that sense, but being able to look at a hole and tell you what I like or what I don't like is, I think, it's something that really interests me, because I think at times what we're doing to golf courses these days is not right, and it's not what's best for the game, personally.
And then kind of follow up something that Doug asked you. When was the last time you felt like you didn't put your best effort into a round or a tournament, where you just left saying, God, I just completely just screwed that up, and I didn't stay patient, I didn't do all the things that I'm supposed to do?
I would say I would never look at a whole round. I'd look at stretches in rounds, and I mean, it's not going to be an example you like, but like today, I putted really good during the practice round. I had a good match with Sam out there, and we both played good, and whatever. Go to do my practice routine after the round, and I'd made a bunch of putts on the course. We get over to the putting green. I missed my first few putts because the green was maybe a touch of a different speed, and I had a 9-hole putting drill that, I got to get past to get
here.
To get here, essentially, but not really. But yes, essentially, like I'm not going to leave the green if I'm not passing the drill. And so in the course of the first match, I had a few really good putts that lipped out, and I got frustrated, and I started, I could tell that the switch flipped a little bit, and after the little 9-hole thing went by, I was kind of looked at the results, and I was like, that wasn't because there's anything wrong with my stroke. I'm like, I just got a little bit ahead of myself, and I got frustrated, and so went back and did the drill again. And so it's not necessarily like the whole round is gone. There's just a couple shots and a couple silly things that'll happen throughout the round where you're not thinking properly, and that could be, for a variety of reasons.
Does Teddy ever bring you back?
Occasionally. Sometimes I'm a lost cause, though.
Do you have a favorite course on tour?
Not really. I think there's certain aspects of courses that I like, and then some aspects that I don't like. People ask me that question all the time. I need to come up with a better answer.
You sure do.
Yeah, it really is a common question.
We'll give you time to think on it.
Not on tour.
The Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas, the best.
All right, Scottie, thank you for the time. Good luck this week.
Of course, thanks, y'all.